talking to new Johnston City head football coach Dan Mings. Coach, first of all, has there been a transition for you going from a 5A school to a 2A school?
Well, Scott, football is football. It's all relative. The only difference is, at Mount Vernon there's 1,300 kids. At Johnston City there's 350 kids. But it's the same level of competition that we're playing, just with fewer numbers. So the transition for me hasn't been that great because I've coached at smaller schools before. At Edwards County and Fairfield and from El Dorado. So this is sort of normal to me.
When you look at coming here, the smaller school, are you kind of behind the eight ball, not knowing the Black Diamond, and maybe is this where you rely on your assistant coaches to help you out at least going into week one?
Well, like I say, I'm from the Black Diamond. I've never lost touch with it. I know who the coaches are and pretty much, know who the players are and those types of things. But, it's nice to have coaches on staff that are familiar with the different areas around, Johnston City. So, you just glean all the information that you can from everybody. But, we've been pretty comfortable. It's been a real easy transition, and the coaches have been, my coaching staff is outstanding. So pretty lucky as far as that goes.
When you look at this year's team, a lot of expectations, a lot of starters coming back, namely Jory Keiser, quarterback, Taylor Kirkman, running back, just to name a couple. I know you have others. But a lot of expectations for this team to go far in the playoffs. Does that put added pressure on you being a first-year coach here?
No. This is year 17 or 18 or whatever it is that I've been doing this, 12 or 13 as a head coach. So these are expectations I put on myself all the time. So I really don't feel any outside pressure. I know that this community expects a winning football program. Go all the way back to the beginning with, Coach Rude and Jansko and Coach Babington. And you just keep going. Coach Beery had obviously a great team last year. So the tradition is to put a good product on the field and be competitive in every football game. So that's what we expect to do. As far as players go and that type of thing, our plan is to start 20 different people. I think in this conference, the closest that you can get to two platooning, that's important. Now, those guys are going to they have other responsibilities on the other side of the ball. So our depth comes from maybe a defensive starter as our backup offensive lineman. So we have some depth as far as that goes, but across the board, having 19 to 20 different starters in 2A, I think is pretty important, especially when they're high-caliber players.
Yeah, that's something you don't see at the 2A level very often. Talking about starters and that, I know that you're bringing in your own style of football on both sides of the ball. How have the kids done, in the summertime workouts, and now you're, less than 3 days away from the first game? How have they picked up on your offensive and defensive schemes that you've implemented?
Well, first, it was a little hard for them. Not because what we do is complicated. They love Coach Beery so much. It became a trust thing. They need to learn to trust me. I need to learn to trust them and the coaching staff and those types of things. But I can honestly say, once we got about halfway through the summer and, they realized I was here, then they started catching on and learning. And I tell you what, they've really taken to this offense and defense pretty well. So very high football acumen. We tell them basically one time they get the concept, then we drill it, and they get the drills, and, then they apply it. So generationally, they've been taught very well. It's a football community. They understand football speak. So that's a pretty nice thing to have.
Let's talk about the Black Diamond itself. Cesar Valier, Chester, new school last year in the Black Diamond at Carterville left. Cesar, always one of the top teams in the conference year in and out, and whoops, look at the first week opponent. It's Cesar Valier. What can you tell us about the Red Devils?
Well, they're well coached. They're excited. Now, up in Mount Vernon, we had the Jefferson County Sports Authority. So some of these kids that are playing, from Woodlawn and Cesar, I actually saw them start playing when they were little kids. So I'm sort of familiar with, the kids that they have out there, most of them. Been and watched the basketball games over there when it was the game in town when we played on Saturdays. We would go to Cesar and watch them. That's just what we would do. So I'm sort of familiar with the program and Coach Shadowins, and it's going to be a battle.